week has been very busy. This is, some of you have seen already twice this week at community events. So I appreciate you guys making it out today. We're really trying to keep the presentation piece of our community engagement process to an hour, so that way we have time afterwards to kind of ask additional questions, mingle, get to know each other, get to know some of our Albuquerque city staff and ACS responders. And so we'll go ahead and get started. There's some additional seats up here in the front. And so for all of our latecomers, that's their seat. Did everybody get a chance to get a packet? There's some renderings in it and anything else. So, okay, good. Well, my name is Mariela Ruiz Angel. Many of you know me. I have been with the city now for going on, I believe, 8 years. Hey, Karen, come on in. We have been, this has been a site that I think community has been pretty involved in for a really long time. This was my neighborhood for a very long time. I was part of conversations around this property years ago. So I want to just acknowledge that today when we talk about this, we understand that this may not be exactly what some of the surveying and some of the community input that came out, but it's where we're at now and today. And so we'll have questions and answers afterwards so we can talk about what the future of this might be if this is not what you guys deem to be, what you want. So as you know me well enough, I'm all about hearing voices and uplifting voices and making sure that we do the right thing for the community. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and start. Today our agenda is really just to do a quick introduction on ACS so everybody knows what the Community Safety Department is. We're gonna hear from our architects. We're gonna talk about the outdoor market that will also be developed, as well as we'll talk a little bit about the fire department that will also be popping up, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So, what is the Albuquerque Community Safety Department? Can I just ask a show of hands who knows what ACS is? Okay, good. So, Albuquerque Community Safety Department was created in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. We had a huge uprising in our community and around our country so that we could start giving the right response at the right time, right? This means that when we have mental and behavioral health illnesses happening in our community, a badge and a gun are not appropriate every time. It really needs a behavioral health responder, a social worker, a counselor, even teachers, even somebody who understands that person and that community. So we have now fully developed and implemented in September of 2021, right? Are we in September? Sorry, my years are clearly colliding. September 2021, we implemented. We have successfully been gone out to 6,200 calls since September with less than 1% where we actually needed police and AFR backup. That's huge. It means the model works. It means that this actual alternative type of response can really be a reality, not just for Albuquerque, but for Santa Fe, who's developing something like this, for Las Cruces, who's been developing something like this, and for our nation that's been developing something like this. Now, what we're saying is that we don't need police. We absolutely need police. We've seen in other jurisdictions across the nation where they've slashed police budgets, and it's actually gone backwards. We need our officers, we need our firefighters, we absolutely need to have that. But it doesn't have to be an or, it can be an and. So with that said, how we got here, so really we have 58 total positions that we have filled to date. It means that we've got responders working from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week, and we'll be expanding those hours from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the very, very, very near future. We are also asking for additional funding in the new budget that you will hear about very soon, which will then double our fleet and put us into a 24/7 model. And I might be in somebody's way, so I apologize, guys. So you can see here our org chart. We are not part of the police department. We are not part of the fire department. We are our own department. So I sit at the same table with both of our chiefs. And again, we have multiple different divisions. We have, some of our staff are here, so if you can raise your staff, ACS. So we've got responders here with backgrounds from all over the place who are from Albuquerque, who have lived in these communities with us, and who are just doing amazing work day to day. So really quick, we have 4 different types of responders. We have our mobile crisis team, so that's your high acuity. We've got some street outreach, those are our encampments, and folks that are living in our unsheltered neighbors. We've got behavioral health responders, and we've got community responders. Now, community responders are very different because it's not about mental behavioral health, it's about the over-policing that tends to happen in certain neighborhoods that we know doesn't even really happen. We can go out and proactively work with community to try to create what we really consider to be community policing, right? In a way that's much more grassroots, much more compassionate, much more, right? Just a little more, what's the right word? Just calmer, right? It doesn't alarm, not alarming. So our last responder we have is a Cora responder. You can go to the next slide. And our Cora responder, Lene, to put you on the spot, Lene and Elaine Maestas. Elaine, are you still here? Elaine's here. These are kind of what I might consider to be kind of like our much more specialized responders. These are folks that go out to some of our more traumatic and difficult types of calls in regards to homicides, child abuse, domestic violence. Surprisingly enough, we didn't actually think we'd go to those calls, but we do. We actually get called out quite often from officers and firefighters to go to those types of calls so that we can work with families to get them connected. And it's an amazing thing to see because, you know, we pull up to a call where a police officer's there who's kind of exacerbated his resources. And when we get there, there's a little bit of hope that sometimes I see in their eyes that they're like, oh, finally, somebody who really probably knows where to send this person or help this individual. So they're here if you guys want to talk to them a little bit later on. So I'm going to now go on to the draft. I'm going to bring up our architects. Jackson Jones, if you'd come up, and we'll get right into the meat of our presentation.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jackson Jones. I'm with the Hartman and Majewski Design Group. We are the architects that have been working with ACS to develop this new facility. And I'm just going to go ahead and take you through what we've been able to put together so far. So here we're looking at an overall site plan for this project. The site takes place at the corner of San Mateo and Kathryn Boulevard. And we are putting our facility kind of just north of the residential development that's at the corner of Ross and San Mateo. And then just north of our facility would be a little pop-up marketplace that you're going to hear a little bit more about later. And then to the north of that is another future economic development. So this is the site plan for the facility. You can see up on the north end we've got public parking with a pedestrian connection up to that pop-up marketplace to the north.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing, so I can imagine something.
Sorry, do I need to talk?
It's okay.
Better? Okay, I apologize. All right, so the public parking to the north would lead into an entry plaza with a lot of nice planters and trees, a lot of seating out there, be a nice event space for ACS to host any outdoor events. And that would lead into the public portion of the building, which is that north block that kind of runs sideways here. The entrance is at the northwest corner. And then we have an entry garden kind of on the north end of the site, to the left of the drawing here, or I'm sorry, the west end of the site, on the left of the drawing here.
Can you tell us where the streets are with that? There's
Sure.
no streets?
Sure. So San Mateo is running right here.
Thank you.
Yes. And the foot traffic off of San Mateo could go right into that entry garden right there, which could lead into the plaza and in turn into the building itself. So here we have a floor plan. of the building. This northern mass that we're showing in orange is the lobby space and the public space. So in the west portion of that, we have the vestibule of the northwest corner where you'd enter the lobby space, a lot of storefront, nice visual connection with that exterior plaza, a couple multi-purpose rooms, and then here on the right side, we have a training room for ACS to host any of their trainings that they might need to do. Kind of more towards the middle portion of the building, we're calling a collaboration area. Could be used for staff or a mixture of staff plus the public. And that would open up into 2 exterior courtyards on the east and the west of that space that are enclosed by some masonry walls to provide some security. And then the south kind of mass of the building is more of your private space for all your staff. You know, we have a nice open workspace kind of here, offices all along the south wall, and then in gray, what you kind of see is just more support spaces, restrooms, mechanical rooms, and whatnot. So here's some elevations of the exterior of the building. For the public mass, we're using kind of a bit of a brighter color, just to kind of highlight the fact that it is the public portion of the building. So right now we're calling out for a kind of corrugated metal material and orangish material. For the private mass, we've got just a smooth stucco, and then those masonry walls, we're thinking of a colored kind of brick pattern that would kind of accent the rest of the materiality. So here's an aerial view of the project. This is kind of standing over the entrance at San Mateo on the west side of the site. So you can kind of get a view of that entry plaza with some of the nice planters out front, lots of trees, lots of vegetation, some seating out there, some trees for shade. Over here on the right side, you can kind of see how that entry garden is starting to work out. And then that would all lead into the northwest corner of the building. Here's an eye-level perspective just on the approach walking into the building from the parking lot, that pedestrian connection that would lead up to the pop-up marketplace. This is just an entrance of the south side of the building, of the staff entrance, providing them with some seating, some shade, and some trees and whatnot. This is a view just walking into the vestibule into the lobby space. Straight to the right, you'd have a computer lab area. Right next to that, you'd have your reception area. And just to the left of that, you'd have your seating area. The next view we're going to take a look at would be standing in that hallway looking right back at us. So here you can see kind of the strong visual connection with the exterior with that outdoor plaza. Lots of natural light coming into the space, something that we think will be very pleasant. This is a view of that collaboration space that's kind of right in the middle of the building. There could be private function, could be a mixture of public and private. And you can kind of start to see how that has that connection with the exterior courtyards behind the masonry walls. You can see right there through that glazing. And this is the staff workspace kind of in the south portion of the building, looking into another one of those exterior courtyards. Yeah. And that is all I have for you. I'm going to hand it off to Alex now.
I'm going to jump in really quick. Thank you so much. So I want to talk a little bit more about the space just from like a community perspective, because this is really nice and the renderings are beautiful. You have this all in your packet, because I know Jackson went a little bit quickly, but again, we have, please take pictures. So really this space was, currently we are located downtown and we're literally across from the police department. And although I love City Hall, it's not a super inviting place. I'm just gonna say it, it's not where people really wanna go. It costs money to park. It's not really functional for us. But so when we had started talking about a hub, we looked at lots of different locations across the city to see like what made the most sense. What we wanted to do was have a space in which our folks could have a hub, our employees would have a hub, but that also could be used for training. We're doing amazing training, trauma-informed, from community, and we're out of training spaces. We've also wanted to have a space where we could, right, if somebody in the community needed to use a laptop or wanted to have a space to do their homework or to have a community meeting or to have a neighborhood association meeting, that they could have a nice place to do that. We also very purposely tried to focus on the outside. We know that this was an area that a lot of people wanted parks and different things, and we wanted to make sure that we could still have a little bit of that, right? We can have community events in this area. We can have workforce development days, and we can have youth days where we bring in youth to do education pieces. So we really wanted to focus on what the outside perspective might look like. So we talked a little bit about walking pathways and ways to make it very friendly so that we can eventually even maybe have just better flow between that San Mateo area into the neighborhoods. We know that there needs to be a little bit of some walking spaces and areas for children and families. So I wanted just to talk a little bit more about that. And now I do want to leave some time, and then we'll open up to questions to Alex and his team, because they're a part of this whole piece of the community and our new space. Thank you.
I thought I was going to fall. I talk kind of loud, so I think everyone will be able to hear me. So maybe I'll hold it down a little bit lower. But like many of you guys, this place is personal, right? Like this lot is personal on a lot of many levels. Like I remember growing up where 80% of our commerce would be on this site, right? The indoor mercado, clothing stores, Blockbuster, and then across the street was my barber shop, right? So for many of us, this is a personal space. And I want to kind of take it back a little bit. In 2020, we did a pilot program, an outdoor food truck park with a movie night on San Mateo and Southern. And we employed youth. There's a picture on there. We had employed youth. We kind of took an empty lot and kind of bare bones put it together and wanted to activate it and give a spot for local commerce and community to kind of come and use, even during the pandemic. But partly through that process, we found out that it wasn't as equitable as we wanted it to be, because if you had a food truck, you could set up. But if you didn't have a food truck, you couldn't set up. And we had lists of small vendors that were in the neighborhood that we were having to turn around, and that made me feel really bad, that they didn't have a space, they couldn't go set up, and it was only designated for food trucks. And so that's when we went back to the board. All the drawings and pictures I can't have credit for. I'm terrible at all of this. That's Jessica. She does all of that stuff. She's phenomenal at it. And we started working with New Mexico Main Street, and we said, hey, this might be a great opportunity to submit a project. And looking at that San Mateo and Kathryn, and looking at the studies that you guys did in 2017 on all the stuff you wanted to do, we kind of said this might be a really great idea to do a community project that the community can actually be the ones to have a space on there and plant our flag and actually do something that we want to be a part of and we can continuously use. And so we submitted it, they got us in there, and our opportunity is to set up a temporary structure, a temporary walkway on the Anderson path, right? And we can kind of create it how we want in a framework, right? Where nothing's set in stone, where we can just kind of come as a community, see what we want to put, see what we want to build, see who we want there, how do we get this set up, to eventually be able to make a permanent part in that whole development. Now I know it's only a small space, like they've carved us out a space, but we have a little under an acre to do a community project. And so our big ask from here is we can't do it alone, right? Our big thing is we can't do it alone, and we want everyone to be a part of it so we can all do it together. And I'm like you guys, I love seeing our small guys win all the time, our artisan market, our food entrepreneurs. Like, I love it. That's what I'm for. I love seeing all of that stuff, and then to also be able to take advantage of things that everyone's wanted in this room. How can we make that work? Put it all together and do a great project and plant our flag on this area. So we're looking for volunteers, we're looking for people. If you're interested, please send an email to info@ideeconomic.com. We actually also have questions in the back on like how would you like to be engaged. The lovely Yacht City will be back there putting all of that stuff together. Next slide. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, this is the space. So this is the area that we have an MOU with the city to actually do a project on here. And you know, it's blank, right? Because we get to kind of put a blank canvas together and put some things that we know that we can use, will work, and hopefully to make it a better and fun place overall. And I'll pass it to Jessica if I forgot anything.
Well, I was to say, like, we would really appreciate your input. If you want to volunteer for something, you can write down your name up there. If you want to send an email, we'll follow up with you. But it's going to be, community activated, and that's how it's going to be a success.
What is that email again?
It's info.
You go back.
Next slide, please.
Thank you.
And it's also it should be in the slides. Go ahead, right there, say it.
Info@ideeconomic.com.
How
often is that email checked, and when can we expect answers?
Bam. Yacht City answers it daily, and we're on it. So if you send the email, we're on it.
That'd be nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, that's it. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, thank you all. Thank you everyone for coming out. This is great. I haven't seen a room.
You want to stand up there? There's probably questions for everybody, so.
Okay. Karen.
So it's that little slice, right, where the food trucks would park. That's the parking for the food trucks. Is that
Yeah, our goal was to kind of keep this, what was once Anderson, going through the site as a pedestrian-oriented development for the community.
Is that where there already is like a light?
No,
Oh, that's the other side.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the problem.
right, so
Says
the,
San Mateo, there's a.
yeah, so here's the, here's the Dairy Queen, and then here's the Circle K for the 7-Eleven.
Okay, there's Kathryn over there. Okay.
Yeah, this is
Okay, so
Kathryn
it's
right
farther
here.
up. Is it like where, I'm trying to picture where.
Warrior boxing and then for the check.
Right by the apartments, right?
Yeah, so
right
this is all
behind the-
housing.
Right behind the Dairy Queen.
Oh, behind the Dairy Queen. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is the Dairy Queen here, and these are all like the apartment housing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like this side
There's
is,
apartments and then there's, okay.
Yeah,
now I see
there
it.
it happens.
okay.
Yeah, okay, so then, is that green space is like just gonna be green, or is that, what is that? The green space?
No, I think like it'll go. Yeah, I think what it is they just kind of put that in there, right? I believe so, but they can correct me if I'm wrong. But
It's not green, okay. That's not a green space.
No.
No. Could we make it a green space?
that's the best part. Like we're oh. Why would I? I see why they put me on here last because I'm like, let's do it, right? Let's do it, And so
Because you could
yeah.
put a soccer field too, like, because I remember they wanted a soccer field to be put in that where ACS is gonna be. That was one of the dreams, was to have a soccer field for young people to play.
And some pickleball courts were also added at the studies done in Whittier Elementary School cafeteria.
So I'm just saying
Well, they're
that,
just using part of that area, even past where the temporary spot is that Alex will be setting up. We still have the rest of that area to get developed.
right, so could it just be green and then the trucks, make little paths for the trucks to, roll onto the green,
Like this one here?
and then
Oh.
still be able to have a green space, like.
Yeah, we won't have them just rolling on there, and really it won't be a bunch of trucks either, right? Like we want a few in there, but really we want we can kind of create that. That's the best
I
part.
mean, even if they don't give us a goal, like a soccer goal, but at least a green space so you can come and set up your goal if you wanted to go and have soccer. It's just an idea.
Alex, that was huge. I can't think of one community member who didn't ask for the green space. And recreational equipment for youth. We want a safe place for youth and adults to congregate every day. And, we want some lighting, of course, we want some security, but, I'll let you look kind of older here. Gun in the hand or basketball, you choose. I choose the basketball.
I'll definitely choose the basketball. I'm ready to get some hoops out. If my knee wasn't messed up, I'd play. Yeah.
So just also as an FYI, and we have some experts in the back who can talk a little bit. So just for regards for funding, because I think that's been a big deal with why this probably space has been difficult to put what we want to put in it. So we received GEO bond money that was voted on by voters in November, this last November, very specifically for public safety space. So this area would have, in order for us to use that funding, in order for us to build, will have to be with that funding. Now, I think with Alex, we've been able to find some additional funding from economic development and from ACS and areas like that. This can be, and I don't know what the square footage would look like and what that means for the city, but this is potentially going to be a fire station similar to Fire Station 11, am I correct? So that's in progress, and those are still conversations that are happening. So we didn't feel comfortable presenting on that quite yet, nor did I want to represent the fire department. So just want to let you guys know that. But again, there's still opportunity for some open space in some areas that I think we can still develop. So we're going to be taking notes. Also, it sounds like the boards, there's some opportunity to put some stuff in the boards, but we'll answer some more questions. So I saw over here. Yep.
Thank you. So the reason that we're calling the center part pedestrian space is so that it can be a walkway, right? So that, like, because one of the key points, the reason it's in the very center is a lot of our students that go to Whittier Elementary are on this side.
Yep.
And so you have to cross through the
Very, very fast traffic, absolutely. No, it's very dangerous in that area.
And so like a lot of the lighting and safety stuff could go into just creating that safe walkway.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that would justify it.
Absolutely. Other questions? Gigi? Oh, okay. Here, sir?
Yeah, so one thing that, like I said, it catches everyone's eye is the big blank future economic development. And I thank you all for your presentation and for coming today. You guys have done a great job. And I appreciate you saying, reaching out to the community. One thing I think every neighbor I've talked to, when it comes to spaces like this, they come to me in our neighbor associations meeting, they say, who made that decision? Why is that there? I say, unfortunately, all too often, I say, I don't know. Because no one reached out to us. What we would like, and this is, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm just saying, from the neighbors I've talked to, is instead of, they say that you guys are seriously having discussions about what's going on there. We want in on those. We want in on those discussions, and not just after the fact. We want in on the ground floor of those discussions. Like I said, I appreciate ACS is something that had to go there because of the wrong understanding. But and my neighbors that I've talked to, we would like to be asked instead of told.
That's right.
When it comes to things that are going on in our neighborhoods. So that's just for future reference. We would love to be asked instead of told, like, hey, guess what we decided? And say, but that's not what we decided.
And another point is we've spoken directly with Pat Montoya. And there's 3 things that I thought we had complete agreement on. The public safety building, a green space, and a mixed-use area, okay? And I see some trees. I think we need a lot more green, not only for environmental reasons, but for all, and then of course, the pushback was, well, you'll have folks that you don't want to be there. Well, maybe not. But I would bet you would find kids there every day until the lights went out. Because the place will be safe. It'll be a place for who would say to congregate. I see family and community picnics, events. We need more green, and we need a community garden. That came up very high, a community garden.
So let's take some questions over here. Yes.
Okay, and I agree with what the gentleman said, that the neighborhood wanted input on what you're going to do, and appreciate the presentation. But I'm coming from the position where I already did this at the Whittier Elementary School cafeteria in 2017, and then the city has let us down all this time until we hear that you have a new department and you're taking that space. So we really have a right to get in on this one and have it be a reality, because we put Post-it notes on a nice big map. Maybe you were there, Mary. I was there. I went to all of them. I lived in the neighborhood 33 years. I care about what happens here, and I have not seen it progress. I've seen it degress. So we are serious about what we want, and we want to give input that becomes a reality. Because my experience is the city listens, and then they do what they want to do. And that has destroyed our trust, or mine. I'm speaking for myself. with the city, because we haven't seen that happen. And we put sticky notes for pickleball courts.
Anderson at the, right where you were at, but above.
Yeah, above it. So I think, I mean, those are things we haven't thought of. So this is where I think a lot of space can be done. I mean, these are our future projects. I mean, this is the beginning of what really can be a really nice development for this area. Those are things that we'd love input on. I mean, if it makes sense to put a hawk light or something different or whatever, I mean, I think those are conversations we can have. So. Thank you for addressing that. Yes.
So I'm just thinking, because this might just be the only opportunity to say it, so I'm just wondering, with some of the schematics we see here on this rendering where we have all trees, shrubbery, whatever, can we consider looking at some of that space for community gardens or other things people have mentioned? If we're having green things there, can we make it where it's pulling the community in a bit more? The other thing I was wondering about, like the 8-foot-high masonry wall that's going to be, that you have an elevation facing west and east. I didn't know the reasoning for the height of that, or how far back, if that sits flush with the building, or if that's really inviting for the neighborhood. So I'm just thinking, can't we make this more community friendly in some of the design, or bring people in more? And if we're going to have both, you know, a firehouse and the ACS building, if we can just be mindful and think about how much of a percentage of that plot of land is being used for municipal structures versus the percentage that's really focused on what the community's been asking for.
Well, I think there's definitely room for those types of conversations. And we will be here on Saturday the 30th. So this will not be your last time, and we'll also continue to have conversations. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a comment about the siding and a quick question. So I'm just thinking about a facility that's for people who have behavioral health issues. They're coming to this facility. It seems like ideally, if you have your way, you'd like it in a much calmer environment, not right next to a busy street, you know, like kind of like that youth facility that's at the end of Siesta Hill. It's right next to open space and much calmer. And then putting a fire station next to such a facility just seems a bit alarming.
So the space is not for people with mental behavioral health. The space is an ACS hub with potential space for community meetings. I want to be real clear because I think that's been one message. We're not inviting, like, we're not doing that. It's really meant for like office space for ACS, and then we added pieces that we can have some community, maybe we can do gardens, maybe we can do community meetings, and we can schedule space out like that, trainings, bystander trainings. But that will probably be a little bit farther down on Gibson.
Okay, and then the other quick question is, I understand that you're advocating for ACS social workers on the Gibson. And I heard the other gentleman say he's advocating to get funding for the fire station. What person or position in the city would be advocating for all the things that people here have been requesting, like recreational space or open space or garden space? What position in the city government would be looking for the funding and pushing for it and making it happen?
Yeah, so I'm going to clarify. So yes, I am advocating for ACS today. Alex is advocating for the economic development market pop-up, and Kevin can go more into who advocates for Parks and Recs.
And so the fire station, I wouldn't really, I don't know that I would qualify it as advocating, but you know, we put our bond program together every 2 years. Fire will submit their requests, and we're looking at how we might fund that. I mean, we're not out advocating in the community. We will look at our budget, we will look at our operating and our capital monies, and right. Right. And so our GO bond program that we do every 2 years has funding for community centers, it has funding for parks, it has funding for public safety, it has funding for roads, municipal development. So that bond cycle that we do every 2 years has money in it for a variety of different uses by those departments. And those departments There's never enough money to do everything that we want to do in every neighborhood that we want to do it. But it's those departments that are putting plans together to build green spaces. Parks will be building parks, or right now they're trying to catch up on retrofitting parks. But I do know Parks has a goal of having parks in neighborhoods and, within a short walking distance of residential communities. So that is their focus. And really when we're talking open space and we're talking parks, it's parks. If we're talking pickleball, it's going to be family and community services. So, it's those departments and, also our city council who would work with those departments, because city council does also get funding. They get money in every GEO bond program that they use to support programs in their districts. So I would say, certainly reach out. I'm here from the mayor's office, and we hear you. And then I would also, advise you.
I'm so sorry.
Are you okay?
So sorry.
So reach out to your city councilor as well.
We have, and if I may, we've contacted APS. They have surplus recreational equipment that they'd be interested in donating. We brought in another group that deals with drought and flood control, and they were able to design a green space that would capture water and actually irrigate that particular area, another source of money. And finally, let me ask you about the county. We've contacted our county commissioner, and I was the one who did it. I thought I'd ask her, would you toss in some money? She said she would.
Could you tell us which commissioner that was? We'd like to know.
I don't want to misquote her, but collaborative partnerships can overcome the budget problems.
Absolutely.
And I just throw that out there.
Thank you. I'd like to come to this young man here.
Thank you. My name is John. I have a hair salon about a half a block north of this project. It's been there for 40 years. I've seen the neighborhood deteriorate greatly over the past 40 years. And the shopping center being torn down. I was at a meeting here in this room several years ago. We were going to do police stations, fire stations, but nothing ever happened. So we had big talk and no action. Continues to deteriorate. I have street people in front of my place continually. I have 3 times when people that would sleep on the front door of my building off in the morning when I get there. Somebody decided to do a number 2 by my front door. They lit a fire by my back door. Fortunately, it's a steel door and it didn't burn. So I don't like where our community is developing into. So I would like for this not to be an area that attracts a lot of street people, which is what I've got going on. Now, I have a hair salon, and these little ladies are scared to death to come to my hair salon, and we've lost a lot of customers because of that. So I thought the fact they're going to do something constructive with this. I'm not sure I'll agree with everything you do, but we're going somewhere besides,
Right.
Sir, what's the name of your business? We'd love to stop by.
This is Rockford Hair Salon.
All right. Alex. Yes, sir.
6 years ago, when we had previous meetings nearby there, I chatted at length with a whole bunch of people. I was a professor of architecture in the School of Architecture, and I have had 4 students of mine doing thesis projects for this particular site. All of them, if no offense to anybody here, much more creative in terms of the kind of things that the students themselves imagined for this particular site. When you talked about open spaces, fantastic. I mean, gardens, elevated gardens. You know, for the poor neighborhoods who are living in those apartment buildings, you know, and the small houses on the west side of it, these people would have opportunities. It would become the largest open spaces in the city of Albuquerque. You know, they would attract all kinds of people. Housing, you know, up above shops. Okay, so you know we're talking about a city of a scale that we are talking about today, which is like we're a large city. We are quite a large city. Okay, and when you're talking about major boulevards like San Mateo and even Kathryn and the neighborhoods around here who have been here for a long, long time, it's really interesting that we are not going up. Everything is one story. I mean, you study architecture, you know, you know that one-story cities are small villages, and they would like to stay there. We ain't a small village, no. And I think that sort of like learning even from going to the School of Architecture and asking a number of the profs over there to, I retired a long time, but asking those profs over there to find some of these thesis projects. I mean, I know the names of these people who did it.
I'm going to tell you, they actually did one. So in 2020, when they first came out, the School of Architecture did a project on ACS and what it would look like. I think it's time to pull those out and see where we're at. And it was multi-level.
And you know, you learn ideas from them, not details or anything like that, because you're too young yet and too bored by those kind of details at this point. You know, but certainly the ideas that can generate, like a large open space, landscape, facility over there that brings in people. And then housing up above, 2-3 stories up. And shops on the ground floor. You hide the parking. You don't put the parking on San Mateo Boulevard. No, you put the buildings on San Mateo. You put the parking behind it. Just general ideas from planning from around the world.
Love it. I'm going to go to the red house. You've been really patient.
Okay. Regarding the fire department there, so a lot of people, neighbors would ask me when they were talking about the police station. Again, just questions they would ask and say, why do we need a police station? What's wrong with this one? The fire department that's there on Ortiz, I've toured that before. Is there something insufficient about it that we would have to build its replacement? I mean, it can't be over 20 years old. Did you have to build its replacement, 2 blocks there and take up that space? I mean, is there something you're looking for more in that fire department? I'm not quite sure.
We are needing to expand. We've got fire in the back representing, but I can tell you that 5, 11, and 12, all in the International District. 12 is up at Wantabo, 5 is over on Dallas, and 11 is just down the road. All of those locations have tremendously high call volumes, and they need extra apparatus, they need extra staffing, so they need a larger facility.
I'm gonna go here.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think open spaces are great, all you guys keep like really wanting open spaces, but city buildings, I think is a much better idea. Open spaces are just gonna turn into another big homeless tent city. And that's all we're gonna have there, is the homeless and trash and drug needles. If the city wants to put
their center there and a fire station there, I think more power to them. And that's gonna build and help create this neighborhood, more businesses are gonna come. This gentleman's gonna get customers back again. I've lived in this neighborhood, gosh, close to 50 years. I grew up here, I bought a house here. And it has gone downhill. There used to be stores, there used to be a flower shop, there used to be restaurants. Now it's just vacant buildings and filth and people living in tents. I say go for it. Let the city build their buildings. The plan sounds nice, the fire station sounds nice, and a lot of friends.
There too. You can put all the things that you just mentioned over here as well, okay? I'm not talking about an open space which is 24/7, open and nobody is there. I'm talking about, landscape, stores and shops and exhibits. I'm talking about building things over there by a number of different landscape patterns of people who can then sell that stuff. And so it becomes a market. It's a marketplace.
If they fight the city, they're gonna put one of those homeless tent cities that the mayor wants. He's gonna be like, oh, they're not happy, they're not happy. We fought the homeless shelter, we fought the Gateway Center, whatever they wanna call it, and we lost. And at least they want to do something positive with the neighborhood. They want to do something positive.
Thank you both. I'm gonna go here.
Unlike everyone here, I'm new to the area. My partner and I, we moved our business here November 2020, great time to move. But we spent the entire year renovating a building on Gibson to a commissary kitchen. And it's just been a nightmare. And I commiserate with him. We've had multiple horrific number 2s on our building, on our property. I looked at our video one night around 3 a.m. and watched a guy scream at the door for 30 minutes and then kick it in, broke 2 other windows, $1,600 damage. I understand the Gateway Center, I'm on and off, but I'm thinking, if these people don't have any resources, I mean, we feel menaced. We have put a $30,000 fence around our building. We're just barely open. And I see the homeless people walking by, you try to be compassionate with them, and you literally just get shit on. So I'm frustrated. I see that open space as beautiful, but I think it's a problem unless the homeless situation is more fully dealt with. It's either people who need drugs or they're on drugs. I see a lot of people who need help. But meanwhile, the businesses are being menaced. We've spent a great amount of money just trying to not be shit on. It's tough.
I appreciate that. Tell me again the name of your business.
It's called Magic Cookery. Yeah, it's a commissary, and we're on San Pedro and Gibson.
Yeah, you're right there.
The speeding's horrific. I saw this traffic camera go up a few months ago. I'm thinking, please turn it on. 60 miles an hour, some of these cars are blasting down Gibson. It's nuts.
Thank you so much. Other questions?
Sorry, I missed since no one else has their hand up. I'm just going to kind of chime in. I think the key thing here is economic development. If we had businesses, people were going in and out, if we had foot traffic, if we had things the neighbors were able to utilize, having an open green space would be feasible because people wouldn't be camping out if there's people going in and out of businesses, period. And I think for now, if you have this open space in the middle, it's going to be a pop-up thing. You should be talking with the students at landscape architecture and planning and helping them devise like an easy pop-up and down structure or something that we can utilize within that space that could also be friendly for your foot traffic. And if we're able to then have it evolve down the road, can that become our green space? Because other permanent, not pop-up businesses, permanent businesses are now in that space that we can all make use of and enjoy. And I mentioned this to you, Marielle, I'm just going to say it here for the crowd. I think we should be working with food purveyors and farmers and have them team up with the kids that are doing community garden center and have them learn gardening. They can be doing prints with those gardens. We can be bringing those farmers in. They can be doing fresh prepared foods. We have a food desert on our hands here, and that's another thing that we need to be aware of. But we need activity. We need something lively. We need business, period. And then hopefully what's happening with the salon, other places, it won't be as frequent because all those businesses can feed into each other.
So, other questions? I did want to leave some time because they worked hard. We have some back areas, and again, if I'm not into the survey again. I don't want to do surveys again. I'm not gonna lie. If you guys want a survey on how, like, if you want to have something more, I think we could do some interesting pieces around what else can go there. And I think those are future conversations, but I think there's been a bit of like, let's do another survey. And I'm like, man, I'm pretty surveyed out in regards to this space. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll do it if that's what needs to happen. So I just want to be real clear. But I do want to give some time for economic development because there is this really amazing space and we do have the momentum for moving. So I want to be respectful of giving them some time for us to go and talk more about that. And we've heard a lot of different ideas. I think those are really helpful. And so we'll take a couple last questions and then I'm going to try to leave it so we can kind of walk and mingle and take a look at some renderings. And we can still have conversations. We're here till 7, so. Yes, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. No,
It's
you're
a little
good.
bit later than that way. Again, I apologize if I missed this for being late. Is there going to be, in regards to, there's some great ideas for stuff to do here. Especially, there's a lot of artists in this area, and a pop-up market, I think, would be an opportunity for people to be seen where they might not be seen in other parts of the city. Speaking to things like the pop-up markets and the green spaces and gardens and whatnot, is this facility going to have 24/7 security? And I ask this only because with renovations that we had in the area, like Wilson Park being a big one, we were promised turnstiles that did not materialize, we were promised security that did not materialize, and after a multi-million-dollar renovation, the park kind of slid back down really quickly and relies on residents to make sure that ACS is coming to people up.
So I will say, the fire department historically doesn't need one, and we're hoping that ACS won't need one. We go to these calls, especially if it is unsheltered. Now, if there is another additional problem, it's not the right call for us. We've got a police station right around the street, so they will come to us at any point. So yes, I think that, again, it goes back to that. Like, there was a lot of people who were like, you're gonna put ACS here, what about all the homeless people? And I'm like, if they're already there, we welcome it. Have them come on in, let's get them resources, we transport, we'll get them to a shelter, we'll get them to where they need to go. But, if we're not there, they're still gonna be there. So I think we're just trying to figure out how do we help, right, build those relationships with unsheltered, because that's what's gonna take, right? There's a lot of mistrust, they don't wanna go to the West Side shelter, I get it. So how do we start having that conversation with Mr. Smith or Maria or, Mariela to start saying like, hey, I see you every day, like let's come on, let's have a conversation real quick, right? You wanna use our bathroom clean? Let's do that so that you can try to feel a little more humane. Again, we're not inviting, but it's already in our backyard. So I just wanna be real clear, like what we're really trying to do is really try to address. So yes, to your point, I think if we absolutely needed to go security route, I think we could, but we really think that that's something that we've now proven since September that we can really handle as a department.
I just think it would go a long way to making people feel good
Absolutely.
about these particular spaces that are unconventional and technically green, if we know that it's not going to become something that we're seeing in our other parks in the city.
Absolutely, I agree.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How is this gonna go moving forward now? Like, so everyone
Next
has
steps.
opinions, everyone, so, and you said this is not 100%, right? So how is this gonna, how can the community and Bernalillo County, how do we find that?
What are next steps? So let me throw it back to you. What do you want to be next steps? I know what mine are, and I know what I want to go. And we heard lots of stuff. We got good notes. We recorded everything, including the back of your head, unfortunately. But we recorded everything. We will review. We will send out for everybody that came today. We will send out all the rendering. We will send out the video. We will send out all those pieces. But I guess my question is back to you guys. How do you want to move forward? I mean, if this is a space that you absolutely are like, we're gonna go back to our city council, we're gonna write our mayor, and we're like, we don't want it, then what does that look like? Or if it's a space that you're like, all right, I kind of think this could go here, and I think this could go here, but I'm still questioning this, then what does that look like? Is it a quick, and by survey, I mean like 5-question thing? Do you want us to call you? Do you want us, I mean, we hit up 600 businesses before this event with our responders going door to door. So we can make a lot of things happen. It just depends on how you guys want to be engaged and what does this look like going forward for you guys.
Well, and here's the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong. The ACS building is attached to money already.
It's attached to money.
So that's gotta be there. Some part of that has to be there. So let's start with that, you know, let's build out from there. You know, if they decide that the fire department is going to move over there, then let's put them there and then move in between those areas. We have the opportunity here to create it the way that we want it to be created, except for the spots that have to be there. We've got room, we've got ability, we all have ideas and ability to create stuff.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
already told
look
them
at,
that.
and I understand that, but we haven't gotten anything there. You know, so let's get started with something. You know, let's open the door so we can start building something and make that space worth something so that we can expand from there. You know, otherwise we're spinning our wheels again and we're here again in 6 years, 4 years going, well, what are we gonna build? Well, we talked about this in 2016 and 2014 and we didn't get anything, so let's do something, you know? Let's quit dragging our feet.
I'm with you on investment and what we can get, but we're tired of getting just a little bit.
Yeah.
We look at the red line across the street to San Mateo. We know it's a red line, right, Alex? We know it's a red line for us who live in South San Pedro. Other people don't know it's a red line, we know it.
Yeah.
Okay? Go across that street and look at the hundreds of parks on the corner. They have streets growing in the medians. We want our community to look like that too. We deserve that investment.
Yes.
Our kids deserve that investment.
That's right.
Not another building, not another fire station, not more police. Our kids and our families deserve a beautiful space, just like Parkland Hills, just like Ridgecrest. We deserve it.
You can feel your tires change.
We're tired of it. We're tired of giving all our money to other communities, and we're getting what's left. We're getting nothing. We're getting very medium change. We want more. We deserve it. Don't we deserve it?
Yes.
Why are we worth it? Our kids are worth. I'm not even afraid my kid will walk to Highland High. I drive him to school every day, and I live really close to it. I live in South San Pedro. And I'm afraid, but I know we need the investment to make our community better. We deserve it.
So Bernadette, hearing you, what does that look like then moving forward for you? Like, does it mean revisiting old conversations? Does it mean revisiting the documents that we've had for the last 8 years? What does that look like for you so that we can hear those voices and uplift them?
Any kind of improvement. I see a vision in Alex. I see, because he went to Highland, he grew up here. Khadijah's space right there, she's trying to do what she can to help the community. We do need to help our homeless, but this is the first step to do that. We need to start from the root cause, see and try to help them into housing. If we don't start from that root cause, then we're not helping nobody. We're not doing anything.
There was a comment in the back. I wanted to make sure. Thank you so much.
Well, my name is Paula. I'm a treasurer for Neighborhood Association, Clayton Heights, Lomas del Cielo. It's over by the bus barn, Yale and Gibson. And we have a old Cactus Drive-In. Do you remember the Cactus Drive-In? They made it into a community center, and we are the only therapeutic pool for handicapped people there. It's a city run. You guys, since 2008, we've been on the drawing board for a gym. If you don't go with this, you guys, we still don't have anything. You know, the jail bonds were there, they're not there anymore. It's evaporated, they're gone.
To echo what Paula is saying, our initial gym estimate was 2.7 million. It's now at 8 million. You have the money, break ground.
I believe that this community safety facility, if you guys don't want it here, we have an old IHOP building you can tear down.
It's a good location too, actually.
Gibson and Wilmore, Buena Vista.
So, yes, people don't do emails all the time. App development, I'm sure that's possible to focus on, people being able to do bi-directional communication.
Sure.
So that's my comment.
Okay, good. So we didn't ask for phone numbers, but if that's a preferable way to get communication, please stop at the front before and leave that information. We're not gonna push it out, but just let us know. And then again, we've got all your emails, so you might then get something maybe from Alex or from us to just also say like, maybe it's just like, how do you prefer to be contacted? How do you, we don't wanna bombard, because again, we understand what that looks like, but, I agree, better communication is always necessary.
That's one way. You're just talking one.
No, with emails that don't go circle, right? It's full loop. We absolutely want that. Yes, ma'am.
That's a great point that Jana brought up. Remember we used to get these inserts with our water bill and things the city sends? You could put an insert in our bills. Everybody gets bills and say, you want to be contacted for your neighborhood's progress or whatever, however you want to word it. And maybe that goes to everybody. And then of course we have to return it, but put an insert in our bills or an insert in the journal. A lot of people still get the paper. I don't, I canceled it.
Yeah, this
To a point, the city's never shy about handing out notices that you got weeds in your neighborhood. But when
Your
they build
HOAs.
something in your neighborhood, they're very shy about letting you know that's coming.
I like that. Thank you. We're gonna contact them and find out how they do outreach. And then last question, and then I'm gonna open it up so we can all kind of chat and look at pictures.
To all these points, because I think communication's key, and so many people don't know when these meetings are happening, so that's the biggest thing. Moving forward, I think focus groups would be really great. It'd be really great if you guys did focus groups. I know other architecture firms, I know way more architects in this town than I know anyone else that do focus groups, like with the communities when these buildings are being developed, so I think that's really important. Focus groups for the open air market, and even if we're able to break it down into more small, intimate, like roundtable discussions, convene, but I think that's a key thing, and I don't know, I wanna make sure everyone gets invited to that. So what does communication about those focus groups look like so people can be present? Like if you guys reached out to schools for like PTA, like I know, the Navy stuff, I've been reaching out to all the different schools.
Was it you that said we should use the billboard signs that running on the schools? Like the school has the, what are they called, the monograms that run?
That's a great idea.
It's so definitely, I love that idea of just like, how do we utilize the current infrastructure that we have that we can push out information around community meetings? Okay, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Please take information. Please register. If you didn't register, we'll send more information. We'll follow up. And come back on Saturday if you want to do this all over again.
And